the people, by the people. For the culture.
Peace, 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 Jumbo. Welcome to the VITAL Hoops Podcast. My name is Fernando Cardenas, aka International XB. I am your host. This is episode number 73. Before we get started, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, support Black Power Media Reloaded. This is independent guerrilla media. We have over 54,000 subscribers. We have over 800 videos over here on the channel. Also, if you are able to, please support VITAL Hoops. The info is down in the description for you to support. If you can't support financially, it's okay. Make sure you share this video with a friend, with somebody who you think may be interested. Also, make sure you take a look at the rest of the shows on this channel. We have a brand new show with Dr. Gerald Horn, Amandla, that just dropped. We have the Rise Up International Morning Show, Tuesday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern. We have On the Masses with Professor Griff. We have Daughters of the Whirlwind, and a plethora of other shows, all connected in one way or another to Black Power and our struggle. Now, today's a special day and a special episode. It's the last VITAL Hoops podcast of the year. We're closing out 2024. It's also the first day of Kwanzaa. So happy Kwanzaa to everybody that does celebrate. Personally, I celebrate with my family, with my children, my wife. I think it's important and it's very positive for children, especially if you live in a country in which the population is majority non-African. I think it's an important holiday. So, like I said, happy Kwanzaa. Today is UMOJA, the importance of unity, and not just unity for unity's sake, but unity in the family, unity in the community, unity for prosperity, for revolution. So yeah, I think Kwanzaa is a beautiful thing. Like I said, especially for children, it helps them, understand about their African roots, their family, their ancestors. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to spending time with my family and regrouping, you know what I mean, and getting a fresh start for 2025, which is coming up real fast. All right, so there's a couple topics I want to touch on. We have no guest today. It's been a while since I've been rocking by myself, but here I am. Shout out to all of y'all that's been supporting the VITAL Hoops for 73 episodes. This is episode 73 right here. I've been consistent every other Thursday, dropping episode after episode. Again, I appreciate your support. First thing I want to touch on is the Pan-African Universities that took place here in Paris. If you don't know, I'm a part of the Pan-African League UMOJA, an international Pan-African revolutionary organization. And we just held the Pan-African Universities in Paris this past December 7th. It was a beautiful thing. Shout out to everybody that participated. Shout out to all my comrades that really put this together. The focus of the universities was to unite in order to combat imperialism. And so some of our guests were Jemima Pierre, an anthropologist of the Black Alliance for Peace. We had Ramzi Baroud, a historian, author, and journalist. We had Amzat Bukhari Yabara, who is a historian and also the president of our organization. Shout out to Amzat. He's already been here on the VITAL Hoops podcast. He's been on the Rise Up International Morning Show. Definitely go back and check out those episodes. And yeah, we had other guests, other very good guests. Shout out to everybody who participated, everybody who tuned in. We appreciate you all, and the struggle continues. Speaking of my organization, the Pan-African League UMOJA, some of you know we also organized Panaf Hip Hop, which is a Pan-African Hip Hop Festival. Last year was our first annual. Our second annual is coming soon, but I do want to mention, for those of you that understand French, we're doing live sessions on YouTube, speaking about all types of topics, all connected to Pan-Africanism and hip hop. And so we just dropped a new one, live number 5. So make sure you check out our YouTube channel, Pan-African League UMOJA. The link is down in the description. If you understand French, check it out. And a couple more things related to my organization. One, we put together something for donations for Mayotte. Many of you already know there was a horrible cyclone that went through Mayotte. Mayotte is an island in the south of Africa, and a lot of our comrades' families were touched. So, there's a link down in the description if you can help, if you can donate anything, we appreciate you. And yeah, that's that. Last thing, with the Pan-African League UMOJA, we are working on something very special, which I will not disclose quite yet, but I'm just letting you know. I'll have one of my comrades on soon, early next year, 2025, and we'll be talking about it and looking forward to that. You know what I'm saying? So be on the lookout. Pan-African League UMOJA, we put in work, we connecting worldwide, and we're making things happen. All right, like I said, there's a few things I want to talk about. First, I want to speak on the conference that was held in Cuba this month, December 2024. Due to the Decade for People of African Descent, it was entitled Equality, Equity, and Social Justice. Like I said, it was held in Cuba. For those of you that don't know, I am Afro-Cuban. I am part of the Cuban hip hop movement and also the anti-racist fight in Cuba. So we're artists, activists, we're in the community. We do things to promote healthy living. We do things to promote Black consciousness, African liberation. We speak about the importance of having an African identity. We speak up against racism, locally and internationally, all of that. So when I hear about this conference, obviously, I now live in France. I'm hitting up some of my comrades, some of my people back in Cuba to find out how it went. So here's what I want to say. It's great that this conference took place, okay? What's not so great is that a lot of the people that are putting in work in Cuba on the ground, doing anti-racist work, just Afro-Cubans, that are putting in work for the people in Cuba, where the situation is very difficult, very complicated. We all know about the embargo, but there's a lot more going on down there. None of them were invited. So here's what I want to say. There were a lot of groups, internationally that were invited that participated, right? Organizations, I even know of one or two, Pan-Africanist organizations, right? Here's what I want to say in general to the people. And please, y'all definitely let me know down in the comments what you think. We're Pan-Africanists, right? Or revolutionaries. That's what we consider ourselves. We organize locally. This is what a lot of people do in Cuba as well, right? They organize locally within their community, right? I understand that, a lot of us live in imperialist countries, so it's a little bit different, right? But in your organizations, you don't want to be tied to the government, right? You want to be independent organizations. There's reasons for that. Okay, there's independent organizations in Cuba as well, right? Working for the people that are independent. Okay, these organizations are important. I believe when you come into Cuba as a Pan-Africanist or as a revolutionary, you should get in touch with those people that are also not linked to the government, that are independently doing work in the neighborhoods for the people. Also, there's this whole thing in Cuba that they're working on. It's called Color Cubano. If you were at the conference, you heard about that, okay? This is something that is not productive and not positive. It promotes what they have been promoting for a long time in Cuba, which is that there's no such thing as race in Cuba, that we are all the same, one Cuba, one people. It is a false narrative. That is not the reality that people live in Cuba. Afro-Cubans are at the bottom of society, just like everywhere else. Just because they claim to be a socialist country does not mean that African people are equal within that country. Most of the people that have quote unquote top positions are white or light skinned, very light skinned. Darker skinned Cubans are at the bottom of society. Okay, and there is such a thing as white people and Black people in Cuba. Don't get caught up with the whole bullshit. Cubans are descendants of Spanish people, Europeans, people from Spain. There's also descendants of Africans, West Africans, right? And there is also very few, but there is some natives. There's very little because in Cuba, they literally genocided all of the natives. They murdered a huge percentage, most of them. So yes, of course, there's some people that are mixed. But like I said, within society, you can tell. The lighter you are, the most quote unquote opportunities you're going to have. The darker you are, the more difficult life is. So the whole concept of there is no such thing as color in Cuba and all of that they've been trying to push should not be supported. Okay, so when you get to Cuba, you shouldn't think, oh, it's different here. And they tell you, oh no, yeah, it's different here. It's normal that for example, the manager of the House of Africa is a white Cuban. Oh, it's normal. No, it's not normal. I just want to share that because a lot of our African brothers in Cuba, a lot of our Afro-Cuban brothers and sisters don't feel support from Pan-Africanist organizations. They don't feel like they are being heard. They don't feel like they're being supported. You know what I mean? So as a Pan-Africanist and as an Afro-Cuban, it is important for me to share this. If you understand Spanish, I also do a show with a couple of my Afro-Cuban comrades named Habana Negra, where we speak about mainly Cuban issues from Pan-Africanist perspective. The link is down in the description as well. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you all because it is important. And as a Pan-Africanist, I think we should all be race first Pan-Africanists, right? Which means that we're going to see, no matter where we go, we're going to go find out where Africans from that place are at and what and how they are doing. Regardless of what the government tells us, we have to go to the people, to the African people. Like Malcolm said, African people have to organize locally everywhere. African people have to organize in Cuba. African people have to organize in Brazil. African people have to organize in Venezuela. African people have to organize in the United States. African people everywhere. And then you have to come together. So that's that. I appreciate you all for taking that in. And feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to expand on this. And I have spoken on it a few times. I've had the comrade Vlad, Vladimir Mitchell on Vital Hoops. And we've spoken on this. You can go back and check it out. But yeah, this is something that's very important because a lot of people forget when they get to Cuba sometimes because of the history, the positive history when it comes to the help of Cuba and the motherland and all of that, which is very important. But also we have to look at our people currently, their state, where they are at, what they need, how they feel. So shout out to my people doing the work in Cuba. All right, so I am going to talk basketball today. Before I do that, there's a lot going on in the quote unquote hip hop world, the commercial, mainstream, rap, I haven't spoken much about or at all about Kendrick and Drake because obviously Kendrick won, that's obvious. But not only that, there's certain things I've never liked Drake anyway, but there's certain things that made me not want to really mess with Kendrick. There's certain things like, for example, that diamond encrusted crown that he constantly wears. The fact that he's doing the Super Bowl, he shows up with a huge American flag behind him. Just certain things like that really don't make me, fuck with him like that. So I haven't really been into it, the whole thing like that. Even though I know obviously Kendrick Lamar is an extremely, talented MC. But even from the beginning, like his sound has never really attracted me like that. Yeah, Drake, I've never liked him at all. So that's not even a conversation to me. So yeah, speaking about hip hop, shout out to my crew 340 MS, shout out to Guerrilla Republik Cuba. Definitely got a couple things coming up, for 2025. I'm definitely getting back in the booth. So yeah, look out for that. Please, I'm also gonna put down in the description our Bandcamp, 340 MS Bandcamp. We got a couple albums on there. You can support, check it out, and I appreciate you. 340 MS, 100% independent, underground Cuban hip hop. That's what it is. So yeah, let's talk NBA a little bit. They say that the NBA ratings are down. Everybody's speculating about it, speaking about how come the NBA ratings are down? The season is too long. The dudes are missing games, this and that. I think a big part of it, which, a lot of people are not talking about, is just the fact that in these days and times, people are watching small clips on TikTok and IG. They're not sitting down to watch an entire game. I think that's a big part of it, that a lot of people are not taking into consideration. The second part of it, which I think is touches me directly, is that due to the way the game has been catering to offense, this is not the refs' fault, obviously, because that's what they're the shots they're calling up top. But the refs really not allowing people to really play defense. Well, it's becoming just a show, and at some point, it's beginning to bore people a little bit. Lots of shots, crossovers, dunks, all of that are still going on. But at some point, the competitive edge is different, right? If you can't play defense, the competitive edge is very different. And to be fair, at least in the NBA, it comes back a little bit during the playoffs. They allow the game to be a little more physical, and it gets a lot more interesting, in my opinion. But I've been seeing that at all levels, like it's trickling down in basketball as a whole. To me, I'm seeing all referees, whether it's here in Europe and France, wherever. Like I've been looking wherever now, that because I'm a lover of basketball. I'm a basketball junkie. I watch a lot of basketball, right? Today I watch a lot less because I'm very busy, but I still watch basketball when I can, whatever. I don't care if it's women's college, high school, professional, street ball. I love all of it. So the refs are just not letting people play defense. Like defense is like a thing of the past almost. So the kids are not playing defense, obviously, because they're not being rewarded for it, right? And that I think is a huge shame. Defense is an important part of the game, and I think it should be rewarded. So I think that's part of the problem. Another thing is obviously, analytics and everybody just jacking up threes. And there's another thing. I think a lot of players in the NBA are not necessarily ready. I know it sounds crazy. A lot of people are like, yeah, there's so much more talent now than back in the day. I don't necessarily agree with that either. But I think with players not staying in college very long or not going at all, they're not as ready as they once used to be. The NBA used to be a grown man league. Like rookies would have to prove themselves before they could play. They would come in and they would stay longer in college, but still they would come in and have to prove themselves and all that. It was like a grown man's league. Today is a young boy's game, right? So it's different. A lot of guys are really not ready, but still they're thrown out there in the starting five and, they're doing their thing, but they don't have all the knowledge. So I think that's another part of it. And injuries, I'm seeing a lot more injuries, like non-contact injuries though, than before. And I think again, this is due to a lot of shooting also and the game just being different, meaning that I think there's a lot more mileage, even though it's less physical, and less contact today, but they run a lot more just straight up and down, up and down, up and down, jack a shot, come back, up and down, jack a shot, come back. And so, I feel like that creates a lot of mileage and a lot of, non-contact injuries. Unfortunately, a lot of, stars are hurt and people missing game management, all this is 82 games too much, too long, when they be playing 82 games for years. But yeah, that's what it is. I think those are some of the reasons and some of the things that need to be, worked on. And so, yeah, now the All-Star game is coming up. They're talking about a new format. They're always trying to come up with something new because they say they have to renew it so that fans start being interested again. I think it's about the mindset of the players. It's just not as competitive. It's different. It's different today. And part of that is, again, what I said. You can't really play defense. It's just about who can shoot better, who has the wildest move. And so it creates a different atmosphere, different level of competitiveness. Now, EuroLeague basketball, a lot of people say, it's a lot different as far as defense and all that. It is a lot different. But I still think what happens in the NBA trickles down to the rest of the world. So I do think it affects the EuroLeague as well. I do think the refs are still blowing their whistle way too much, even in EuroLeague, even in smaller leagues, in minor leagues, I'm saying, around the world. I think they're just not letting kids and just not letting people play defense, period, in general today. So, but EuroLeague, the games have been very good. Paris has become one of the best teams in Europe, one of the best basketball teams. They're at the top of the EuroLeague right now. I believe Paris and Monaco are 1 and 2, so I do want to get to Paris and catch a game actually. But yeah, and I think defense will come back around. I think it will. I think this is all, it's a cycle. I think position basketball will come back around as well. Today we're seeing a lot of positionless basketball. I think position basketball will come back around. So yeah, like I said, I appreciate y'all, man, for rocking with the VITAL HOOPS podcast throughout the years, but 2024 was a good year. I want to thank Black Power Media for having us here, for hosting the VITAL HOOPS podcast. It's been great. We're gonna keep it going in 2025, and I'm gonna leave you with my message for 2025, as this is the last VITAL HOOPS podcast of the year. And my message is love. You know what I mean? Love. Make sure whatever it is that you do it with love. Do it for love. Make decisions based in love. Self-love, the love that you have for yourself, the love that you have for your family, the love that you have for your people, the love that you have for your community, because that's what it's really all about. So with that being said, make sure you join an organization, because the struggle continues. This is Black Power Media. Check out all the links down in the description. I shared a lot today in a short period of time. See you in 2025. VITAL HOOPS, for the people, by the people, for the culture. Uhuru.